dive in here, but we're just going to start up.
Sure.
Are you nervous?
Yeah, let's get into it. It is.
You're going to be so used to this in a year. I think this is a really good introduction.
It is.
Yeah.
And I mean, at some point, that might be something I end up doing is like a podcast or some sort of like I'm going to have to do YouTube videos at some point.
Yeah.
I think so.
Exactly. Well, I'm sitting here today with Jason Norby. It's Coach Stefan Rudolph, recovered coaching, and just helping people out in health and wellness and personal growth. Just met Jason, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, kind of came together looking for coaches, like-minded coaches who overcome obstacles in life, start over in life, and what I call Control-Alt-Delete. The challenge in life is the change in life, and Control-Alt-Delete is reset your mind, reset your life. So thank you, Jason, for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Love your story. I talked to Jason a while back on the phone. We met, and then I heard a lot of what he had to say, of what he's overcome, and also doing for other people. So tell us a little about yourself, what you do and how you help others.
Sure. So I like to say I'm a recovering, burnt-out radiation therapist. I am still in the field, but basically I've been a radiation therapist for the past 20 years or so, and have gone through many stages of burnout, pushing through that burnout, growing, kind of moving my career forward through that, iterating what I'm doing in life. But while I've been going through my journey, I've always really appreciated, self-growth work, life coaching, therapy, that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And through working with my life coach, I actually came upon the idea of actually training to be a life coach myself.
Nice.
So I've been certified through a program, the Coach Training Alliance in life coaching, and just started up a new life coaching business,
Nice.
and I'm loving it. And I obviously get to meet awesome people like Coach Stefan here.
Coach Stefan sometimes, Stefan Rudolph. And it's kind of like the new you. And I joke about the name. I am Stefan Rudolph, but sometimes people say Stefan, and I feel like this rebirth of a new you. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what happens is you're going from the corporate world, and it's perfect. The burnout, I went through that. I was in 15 years of in corporate sales, marketing. I went from job to job after the market crash. It was horrible. It was like you think you're making, and I was making six figures. I was doing good, but then next month you get laid off. In 2008, when the market crashed, I was selling timeshare, and within a month, didn't have a job. I was making, $100,000 a year plus, and then you're making zero. Yeah. So it's never stable, and it's hard. That's what you help people with, is the burnout.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, and it can come, in all sorts of different shapes and sizes. I mean, some people push through the burnout and just kind of continue on, but they don't feel fulfillment with what they're doing. They kind of feel like life's bowling them over.
Yeah.
And they don't really have that agency for themselves and to do what they want. Others, self-sabotage, blow up other aspects of their lives. So it's really important to, kind of to notice that what's going on and to take control and try to work through it, or just decide to make different changes in your lives.
There's a shift every time, and I call it the 7-year shift instead of the 7-year itch like marriage. Yep. Every 5 to 7 years we kind of change and grow. Sounds like you're at that point where you're just shifting out of one life, and it's hard because you got to keep working there to pay some bills, but you want to grow full time into a coach, huh?
I would. That would be my my ultimate dream.
Yeah.
And the great thing is having kind of one foot in that world and one foot in this coaching world is I'm still getting a lot of firsthand experience with levels of burnout with different people in the field. I'm constantly reminded of things that I've been through in the past, and it's really kind of great having the synergy between the two different worlds right now. I feel like it's really helping with my coaching.
Yeah, that's great, because you're still got one foot in and one foot out.
Exactly.
And growing that. It's also secure financially.
It is.
You're not just taking a big risk to jump into a business.
Exactly.
And that's where a lot of businesses start, though. They just a little bit at a time. You're doing it out of passion. You're doing it part-time, and you get paid. You get paid here again. All of a sudden you get a big client or two, and you're hopefully can outweigh the need to go back to work eventually.
Exactly.
But tell me, what is like an ideal client or your average client? What are they doing?
Sure. I mean, my ideal client is somebody who really wants to do this. I found that I've had people that really engage with the process. They do their homework. They work on themselves outside a session, come back, and we're just constantly pushing forward and making progress. So that's the number one thing, is somebody who really wants to do it.
Yeah.
I think it gets difficult when you feel like you're constantly selling the process to somebody, because the ideal client really has to want this for themselves.
Yeah.
And ultimately, as you know, with life coaching, the client has all the answers. You're just trying to dig those out of them, and you're trying to get past a lot of the blocks that they may have towards finding those answers. So if somebody's really engaged in the process, that is the best type of client.
I love that. But yeah, I love that because it's Control-Alt-Delete. It's like, you don't know, and I've been through this. Everybody says, what do you do for a living? And okay, I was in pharmaceutical sales. How much do you make? What do you got your cars, you got your homes, you got everything, but who are you? Yeah. Right? There's that, who are you? No, who do you really, well, I'm Stefan, I'm a pharmaceutical rep. Yeah. No, who are you? And it confuses people,
well,
right?
Especially so as a man, right? I mean,
yeah.
We're so aligned with what we do. I mean, it's what as men, what do we produce in the world? And we really align our being and our personality and our just self to that.
Yeah, exactly. Because people are different in every aspect, but we get absorbed, like the high school degree, the college degree, and the masters, and then you're in the corporate world, and you're making money, but then now what?
Exactly.
Now what? Maybe it was too, and a lot of women are in relationships these days are trying to have children, and it's later in life.
Yeah.
And what if you can't have children? I went through that in my marriage. It was very difficult. You're trying to get this perfect everything, and nothing's ever perfect. I think we talked about that. Our discussion was more like, perfection is never there. Yes. Or you sent me a note on that, right?
Yeah.
Did you feel like that? You were.
Yeah. I mean, I perfectionism is such a binary thing, and when you really break it down, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, nobody's perfect, right? So, and if you think of, perfect is good, non-perfect is bad. You can only be bad. So, it really makes no sense to live in that mindset. There's such a gray area to everything, and I found that perfectionism just leads to stuckness, and I found that for myself, and it leads to analysis paralysis. Like, what's the perfect option for moving forward? And if I don't find the perfect option, that means that any other option is bad and the wrong choice.
Yeah, because it's not good enough, or you get there, and I said in my book too, it's the stop sign theory, where I got to get to that stop sign or the next stoplight, and I'll be at my destination. So you have a destination, a goal, and just like in life, you're going to a store. You get to that store. Well, what do I have to do next? When you get there, you're automatically thinking, where do I have to get done by this time to get here? So every stoplight, and it was Meet the Fockers, right, where he's like racing. They're racing down the stoplights. They get to a stoplight. They get to a stoplight. So that funny scene about trying to get somewhere, and you get there, and you're always looking down the road. It's got to be farther. There's more down there.
The goalpost
so
always moves.
80,000 a year, 100,000 a year, 100. I'll be happy. Okay, 200,000 a year, and then what? Right?
Yeah.
So what type of steps do you do? Is it like a 12-week program that you help your clients with, or what do you go through?
I mean, I kind of just dive right into it with them. What I like to do is I offer a sample session. And with the first session, I just ask them, what do you want to talk about today? And we just come up with a topic, and really the conversations start unfolding from there. Sometimes the takeaway kind of starts morphing into something different, but as the weeks go on, we start, we may follow that thread. We may kind of like go into different avenues. You look for those coachable moments, and you kind of find where they can shift their mindset and their mentality. But it really just, it's so different for every client. And the way I like to offer client packages is it's a 4-package minimum, because I think you do need time to work on things. You can sometimes leave a single session with a little gem that you can use to bring back recall in your life to help you with things. But I really think that it is a process of just week after week, work on things between sessions. Let's kind of keep this progress going. So it's not specifically like a 12-week program unless we decide to sign on for 12 weeks and put something together like that. So far it's just been really client specific, and I kind of figure out what each person needs as we get into it.
And did, by chance, when the lockdown happened, I think that was a key. Everybody changed in life. Was that key for you and starting the business and those people that are affected by it, right?
Not necessarily for me. I mean, as a clinical radiation therapist, I had to keep going to work all through the pandemic. So, if we had a patient with COVID, we had to mask up, treat him at the end of the day. I would say that it did probably push my levels of burnout a little bit. I did start feeling a little bit like I was losing a little bit of agency in my life. I would see people safely, there were people safely at home avoiding COVID, where we were kind of thrown into the pit.
Yeah.
And it was very interesting because during that time period, they had the whole healthcare heroes thing going on.
Right.
But that quickly, once politics started getting involved, that quickly morphed into people actually having anger with healthcare workers. So, I would say that probably didn't help my level of burnout.
You were right in the middle of that.
You're right in the middle, right in the crossfire.
It increased the burnout.
Exactly. I don't think that the pandemic affected me in the ways that it would have affected somebody actively growing a business at that point.
Yeah.
But I do think it probably helped with future clients, because I'm sure it added levels of burnout to a lot of people.
Man, when was your first client? Yeah.
My first client was actually just a few months ago.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've been doing. I've had a life coach for a very long time.
Yeah.
Myself, but I'm pretty new to the game, to be honest with you. I think September. Well, let me backtrack. As part of the program I graduated from, we did a lot of sample sessions, and I was actually able to bring in clients from doing those practice sessions. Some people stuck with me and became actual clients. So I'd say probably about 5 months ago or so would be when one of my first clients came in.
And it's just kind of just growing. You just planted the seed. The passion. You're already helping others.
Yeah.
And I did the same thing as a life coach, recovery coach, been sober 13 years, but I didn't know I was helping others. But I'll tell you what, personally, my first client, I'll say my first, non-pay client, but a friend I wanted to help, was in jail.
Wow.
I was in jail for a DUI 13 years ago, and I couldn't get out because I had multiple DUIs, like a hardcore story of just messing up, alcoholism. But I knew I was going to sober up, and I had a cellie. It's called a roommate, and he's on the bunk bed, and he's just talking about his life, and I was working with him, and I didn't even know it. I was just like, man, I got to get out of here. I don't want to be back. And he goes, I'll be back here in 6 months. He was joking about it, and that connected with me because I always joked when I was drinking. I always joked when I was, I'm an alcoholic, but I was functioning, and I kept seeing I saw a mirror reflection. A lot of the times that happens with clients or friends. You see a mirror reflection. If I keep drinking, I'm going to end up like this.
Yeah.
And I was scared straight. And when I helped him realize, you don't need to be back here in 6 months. You're programmed like that.
Yeah.
You have to reset your mind and reset your life, right? And that's how you're helping people understand that.
It's a choice.
And they don't have to be hardcore in jail, but maybe they're only making X amount, or they're not happy with their job. Is that usually what happens, huh?
Yeah, well, and the interesting thing, that reminded me, I had this conversation with a client once that talked about, that it's easier to move forward once you hit rock bottom.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, why don't we choose to make a change before we hit that point?
Yeah.
Because you have all this, area to make the change before you hit that point. That will force and accelerate change or not. But if you hit rock bottom, but why not make the choice before that, like you did?
In AA they say you have to stop digging. Have you heard that before?
No, but that makes sense.
Like anybody that goes to AA and NA out there, they know this quote. It's a very famous quote. Stop digging your own grave. And you don't, because one DUI or 2 DUI or divorce or whatever, and you keep digging. And the same thing though, it's like, I'm just miserable at this job, but I'm going to go back. And then they have anxiety, then they get depression, and then they get stuck in a rut, and then you literally start getting physically sick, right?
Yeah.
But in general, just people are burned out and they can't get over it. They're stuck in their own old you. I say it's the old you versus the new you. And what you said was challenge. So that word has change in it. Yeah. Change is in challenge. And you have to challenge yourself. But sometimes I never stopped digging for years. And I met a guy in jail that literally had 3 DUIs in 2 weeks. Wow. Isn't that insane? I thought I was bad, 4 DUIs in 11 years. And then I met people that had 8 and 16, and they're like old school because they used to give a lot of DUIs and not have. Now you're in prison. That guy was going to prison for 5 to 10 years, and I met him. And it was a mirror image again. I wrote a reflection like, stop digging. So little things like digging, stuck in a rut, you're not happy at your job. That's what you help people with, right?
Exactly. And it's interesting that you mentioned, seeing yourself like reflected in these people. That's the interesting thing about coaching is they say when you're coaching others, you're coaching yourself. And I'm sure that you've seen that. Like you're seeing, maybe that these people have habits that you had before, but also you're a lot of times telling people things that you would love to have heard yourself.
Yes, that's a great point. Didn't think about that recently, but I have thought about that before a lot.
Yeah.
Telling myself every day, put the old self on the shelf,
Yeah.
and then also tell yourself what you want to hear about. There was Louise Hay, there was Wayne Dyer, there was John Assaraf, all these speakers, Les Brown, and I was just listening to motivational speakers all the time in my sobriety, 2013, 14, and they were saying the same thing. You got to get yourself out of this rut, because I believe depression and anxiety are here, passion and growth are here. But in between, I say there's a mouthful of excuses.
Yeah.
So passion, action, and then sometimes, don't do that. Mel Robbins calls it the 5-second rule.
Oh, she's
a famous book. Yeah, I love Mel Robbins. And I was like listening to her book going, wow, that hits home. Les Brown said, if you can look up, you can get up.
Yeah.
I listened to him for 3 years in 2015. And all of a sudden my vision board and my goals were all becoming connected. In 2016, I was published with Les Brown and 9 other authors in this book, and I was like, oh my God, I couldn't believe it. I didn't meet Les Brown, but it was just a co-author book. I had a little chapter in it. And what a blessing, because he changed my life for 3 years. Tony Robbins, whatever, John Assaraf, Wayne Dyer, everybody. We just have to be influenced by people like yourself too, starting out helping others, right?
I agree, and I'm in the same boat as far as like I am a podcast junkie. I love listening to different. I've been getting into Mel Robbins lately.
Yeah.
Big fan of like Modern Wisdom. I love the different growth speakers he has on that podcast. Mark Groves, Man Talks. That's another great one.
Oh yeah.
I'm actually part of the alliance with Man Talks.
Okay.
But yeah, I think just kind of saturating your brain with these messages really can help you. I mean, even if you just kind of have it on in the background, you really do absorb some of that, and it can motivate you. And the one thing I always kind of caution clients with motivation is, motivation's a great thing, but it's really the discipline that helps you move forward.
Yeah.
Because you can't count on motivation all the time, but things like listening to those speakers certainly can help you get to that point. But then it's you taking the reins and just being disciplined in your growth.
Yeah, exactly. And getting into new habits and beliefs. And it's like a 28-day, because I did go to a rehab one time. I went to different things in life, but I realized 28 days is a section of the mind that you get programmed to get up early or do things, and just you got to push yourself. And sometimes when you wake up, you're like, oh, just snooze. That's already kind of shown the day.
Yeah.
It says, there's one motivational speech that says, make your bed. Have you seen that one?
Yes.
There's a colonel up there talking to a university, make your bed.
The guy from Coronado, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I was out here in Coronado, right down the road, and he said, make your bed. And I was doing that already, kind of like I didn't like to see my bed a mess. It made sense. Just get up, I take a shower, come back, I make my bed, I get everything organized, and it just feels good. And people say, you do a lot, you're constantly moving, but I've been programmed now for many years. And also, you might discuss this a lot with your clients, separate yourself from the old connections, right? The old friends, the drinking buddies that I was around. I didn't want to be around them anymore. You deal with a lot of that, right?
Well, it's interesting you say that. I literally had this conversation with my wife yesterday. Okay. We were talking about our group of friends nowadays, and just the fact that we don't have any friends right now that really impede our growth. We surround ourselves with very positive people, a lot of people with families and kids, people that are really pushing themselves in career and relationships. And we've kind of just let the old kind of, the relationships that were kind of pulling us down go. We've just shed them. And it's been amazing. They say, five people you surround yourself with? I totally agree with that.
Yeah, and I realized that recently too. I'm helping clients, and I love to do it, but sometimes I become very attached with them. I'm even a living sobriety coach right now, so it's very draining. And I just went to see my parents for 4 days in Reno, so I was away from him. Nothing bad, but you're helping people, but it's constantly seeing them up and down, and then you don't have enough positive energy. I think that's how it is. I need more people surrounding myself with to go here, then help people go here. And stay around those 5 or 6 people that are positive focused.
Well, and it's interesting you mentioned that, because one thing I've noticed about, so I am a radiation therapist, so I deal with cancer treatment, and one thing that I believe contributes a lot to burnout is just being around, cancer, dying, death. It's such heavy, obviously as a healthcare worker, you kind of learn to compartmentalize it to a point, but it does wear you down psychically.
Very draining.
It's very draining.
Yeah, I don't like to say it either, but I was in assisted living for 6 years. So I helped fill the beds, it's called. I was working for a lady, built her website, did the marketing, and I was helping with 3 small facilities fill the beds. But what happens is they die.
Yeah.
This is Alzheimer's, dementia. You know they're going to die in 6 months, a year, cancer. And in a sad way, it's nothing against her, but it's the industry. Like, oh, they're on their way out. They got 3 days. They stop eating, they stop drinking. Sometimes the body just is ready to go. And and she'd be like, hey, go talk to the what do they call the hospitals? Yeah, discharge planners.
Yeah,
discharge planners. And those are all the people I worked with. Like, hey, we're going to have an opening here. So that person's actually dying, and the family's there mourning, and it's sad.
And they see it as an opening.
Yeah, and it's like and she has a heart, but it's a business.
Yeah.
So okay, do we have people waiting? Let's go help the family. They're going to see their loved one die. That is very draining, right?
It is, and yeah, like you bring up a good point. I mean, when you combine the business aspect, I mean, obviously a lot of times the care aspect and the business aspect can kind of come into odds with each other.
Yes.
I know in my field, keeping the numbers high is a big priority for the upper levels of the organizations, and it's no fault of their own. That's just how our system works here in the U.S.
Numbers.
Numbers, units, however they measure it, and it's sad because especially the employees on the I call the battlefield, like the radiation therapists, the nurses. Our number one priority is the patient in front of us. But if you're getting crunched for time, turn over, let's keep it moving, let's keep the schedule packed. It gets draining, it gets stressful, and it can kind of pull you away from the caring part of your job, and it can lead to being jaded and burnt out.
It does, yeah, and I saw that in pharmaceutical sales. Everybody's just 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and I do notice that. You go to a doctor now, and nothing against this, but they're going to write you a prescription, and the friend I'm working with right now, same thing. He's got to go get Antabuse, he's got to go get medication, he's got blood thinners, he's got 10 medications now. They don't give you a cure, and that's another thing, is changing your lifestyle, the mental health. So physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. I had it all financially, and I had an F in life, though. You can have an A in 20% of life and still die, and I wasn't happy. And so I'm seeing that in a lot of people. They've got everything, or they get to a stage in life where it's like, now what? Yeah. And they have now what-itis, I call it.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, that's kind of what we were talking about before. The goalpost keeps moving.
Yeah.
Just, you might have it all in one area, but then there's another area that it's never enough. There can always be more.
Yeah, I do believe that. Yeah. Well, tell the world out there how to get a hold of you, a little bit more about you and your contact information, your website.
Absolutely. So the name of my company is Momentous Self Life Coaching. You can find me at momentousself.com. M-O-M. Let me try to spell this without having it in front of me. momentousself.com. I'm also on Instagram at Momentous Self LC. I post a lot of content on there, videos. If you go onto my website, there's an inquiry section. You can book a free sample session with me, no obligation. We'll talk about life coaching in general, come in with a subject, and I'll coach you on it, and then see if working with me is right for you.
So if you need to put the old self on the shelf, give him a call, right? And that's also like very connected with people starting over or just needing maybe to get an answer about something. Just give you a call and talk about it. Right?
Absolutely. And one thing I do like to tell people is, obviously my main, as they say, target market is burnt out healthcare professionals who are stuck looking for a change. But I coach on everything. I can coach on relationships. I coach people on different transitions in work life. If anything you want to talk about, we can go for it.
Yeah, I like that.
My experience is as a burnt out healthcare worker, so obviously we'll have a lot in common if we get into those subjects.
Yeah, and that's where we had a lot in common too. And with my book, very connected to what we're talking about here, Thank You to the 1000th Power, is a book about reset your mind, reset your life. And that's what I had to do. I had to put the old self on the shelf and basically meditate. I picked up meditation, I picked up lifestyle change, turn the FUs to thank yous.
Oh, I love that.
So this is, people have seen this before, but I had to understand the command to expand lies in us, through us, for us, by us. But we can't let outside, like kind of what Mel Robbins says, like the outside pressure of get this job, get this wife, get this life, and you'll be happy, and you'll be happy. You're never there. and happiness doesn't follow. You got to be happy within in order to be happy outside, right?
I agree. Yeah, it all comes from within, and just like coaching, the answers are all within. It's just it's quieting that noise outside and just listening to yourself.
I came up with, and I was writing in Vista. There's a yellow deli, it's called, in Vista, a really wonderful deli, and I was doing my writing when I was first sober a couple years. The place was wonderful because it tripped me out. In the top there was a bar, a really nice, personally made bar, and had unique seating. No one drank there though. It was a tea bar.
Okay.
I had never seen a non-alcoholic bar before, and the way the seating was set up, I would sit in the back at a little table and I would just start writing. I was writing my book and I didn't know it. And I have another book called Barstool Knowledge coming out. And when I looked at that, that's kind of where I came up with the name. Was they're sitting at a bar drinking tea, and I go, what a bunch of weirdos. I just couldn't even, I was sober like 2 months, 3 months, and I'm going, how do you sit at a bar and not drink alcohol? And they would give me a green tea, give me this latte, give me this, and I'm like, God. So I went up there and I sat with them, and I'm just like, this is so weird. And then my mind started clearing up in sobriety, and I said, weird spells wired. Yeah. It also spells wired. You're wired differently. You have to view things differently. And that's how we shift, from one point of life to another. The old you's pulling you back, the new you's saying, I'm going to grow in spirit. Mm-hmm. No, you suck. Come on, get back here. Drink a beer. No, shut up. I'm going to grow in spirit. So it's like this 51% rule, like Tony Robbins says. You got to kind of push yourself to go 60-40, 70-30. The new you, right?
Exactly. And it's interesting. My wife is actually pregnant with our first child, and I'm kind of joining her in solidarity right now, and no drinking at all. And I know what you mean. That shift in the beginning was so weird. It felt like that. I felt like the outsider. Everyone is still doing their thing, and I'm this guy not drinking and still going to these events where people are drinking.
Oh, is that hard? You're going to events and they're socially like, have a beer, have a whatever?
Yeah, I had to, in all honesty, I had to start with going to those and having the non-alcoholic beers just to have that thing in my hand.
I have kombuchas.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, no, now my big thing is Arnold Palmer's. I love having Arnold Palmer.
Did you get a lot of slack, I think is the word, from your friends that drank with you? Like, why don't you have a beer, man? Or was it not that bad?
I think I think I got a little bit of a pass because it's kind of sweet that I'm doing this with my wife right now.
Yeah.
Had I done it, on my own, I could imagine that would be the case because what do they call it, like crabs in a barrel? Somebody starts getting out and people pull you back in. I could imagine that. But luckily my friends have been pretty supportive, and my wife loves it too, that I'm doing this with her. So, I think they see that I'm, at least in my relationship, doing the right thing. So.
Well, you can tell them in a good way it's because I'm having a son, and they know. But then afterwards, if you still don't want to drink... A daughter, I'm sorry.
No,
I don't know where I said son from. But maybe the next one, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
But you're having a new child in your life, and I need to do this, so they respect you.
Yeah.
And here's a similar situation, but hardcore, is I had an ankle bracelet on when I got out of jail. Ankle bracelet detects alcohol. Wow. Every half hour, it would go off on your leg, and it would read your pores, and it would detect alcohol if you had it. So I had no other friends in my life, no other contacts. I got out of jail after 6 weeks in jail. I'm going to the bar, but I'm ordering a club soda. I call it a double club soda on the rocks. And they give me a lemon and lime, and I'd be drinking, making everybody laugh like I usually did. But my friends were like, come on, we want you to have a beer. I'm like, what kind of friends are these? It took me a couple months to get out of that. And I realized all I had was drinking friends.
Yeah.
And I had to go through a hardcore shift after 6 months. I got the ankle brace off. They wanted me to drink. What kind of friends are those? And you were at a different level, but sometimes people are like, come on, have a drink. You always drink, and you just have to be stronger.
You do. Well, and the interesting thing, with being a guy, I've done a lot of men's work. Like I was saying, I'm in the Alliance and a men's work organization. A lot of times that's how men open up to each other. We need a few drinks in us to get vulnerable, and
a cigar,
something. We got to be doing something, or we got to be, ingesting something. Smoking weed, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And, I think that, when you're not doing it and you're able to still open up, that could be threatening to people, because why can you do that, but I don't feel like I have the ability to do that.
And this drink, for example, I get Celsius's all the time, and I'm not promoting it, but I'm just saying this is what I drink.
It's good stuff.
Yeah, it's like a healthy, I don't want to drink Monster anymore. I didn't want to drink, and I know this can have its side effects, but I'm drinking something else. So if I show up at a party and I'm drinking this, and somebody's like, in the beginning, I was drinking, they wanted me to have a beer. And I noticed that, and I was like that. I was the guy like, come on, have a beer with me.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird? It's weird, but it's not. It's like, it makes you feel better when everyone's drinking, right? And everyone's doing what you're doing.
It does. But I'll say one thing that I've really appreciated during this time period is never having to worry about the hangover. You know, it's like I can plan whatever I want the next day, and it's not a thought in my mind. You know, it's a hangover is never going to stand in my way right now.
Yeah, that was horrible for me. I mean, I was literally that bad where I had DTs, are called shakes, delirium tremor. I was throwing up 2 or 3 times a week. It was hardcore. You're going back to the very beginning when I was married, and I had alcoholism, but I didn't acknowledge it, and I didn't know. It was every night I would have about a beer or two, just normal. Or you go to an event, I'd have 3 or 4 beers, and I was drinking and driving, wasn't a big deal. And I thought it was just normal. And I had to drink, and I was just telling my wife, after 7 years dating, 7 years marriage, it was, success was there, everything was there, but beer was still there. And I'll never forget going to a big corporate event, everybody's drinking wine, they got their little, champagne. I got a beer, I got a pale ale, I was like, I was the only guy at 30-something years old drinking a beer at a corporate event. It was just kind of weird, like you wanted, anyways, I was absorbed in alcoholism without even knowing it.
Yeah.
Maybe you help people break that chain, right?
Well, I mean, it's interesting. The hard part is it's so ingrained in American culture, too, of any of the substances. I mean, it's everywhere we are, right?
Yeah.
It's, like you're saying, maybe you were the only person drinking an IPA, but everybody else was still drinking. So, I mean, I give you credit for being able to break that cycle, because what a hard thing to get away from.
Yeah.
I mean, especially here in San Diego, we are like the beer capital of the world.
I know.
Mean, we have everything.
Microbrews, North County, where I'm from.
Amazing. I mean, you've Mother Earth up there, and you've got, Pizza Port, you've got all the spots up there, and it's, I give you credit for breaking
Everywhere
that.
I grew up, ironically, in Oceanside and Vista and Escondido, those are the biggest, and I went to Chico State. Sierra Nevada was the biggest microbrewery in the nation at the time in the 90s. So that led into that. And then I come home, and there's all these microbrews going up, and Oceanside Ale Works was one I would go to all the time. It was just wonderful tasting the beer. I had a good social experience, but I was to the blackout point where I started asking myself in jail, in sobriety, what am I escaping from? What am I not happy with? This will go back to your work too. I found out it's my biological father not being there. It's anger. It's the family that doesn't want to see me on one side. So there's kind of deep-rooted issues with people that you probably work with as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely, therapy obviously does this as well, goes into this, but so much stuff is rooted in our childhood and in our family systems, and it's, drinking, as you know, is a way to, you can kind of black some of that stuff out, but just push that stuff out, and it's a way we can self-sabotage ourselves, and it's self-destructive, but also it's almost like a coping mechanism.
It is.
I don't need to think about that when I'm drinking, so of course, I have this readily available thing that I can do to push out this sadness that I'm feeling, and I don't need to feel those emotions if I don't choose to. But as you know, the problem is they'll come out sideways, and they'll become something maybe even completely different and way worse coming out.
Coping mechanisms, I like that, because it's something that your inner child, I studied a lot about that and what happened, and maybe you're angry about something, but you don't know it. It's all psychological. It's all within you, and you don't realize how bad it is. And I never was an angry drunk at all. I never got in a fight. I was a happy-go-lucky drunk, but when I sobered up, I got angry at life. I think I was like angry at the father that wasn't there, that doesn't want to see me to this day, and I'm like, I didn't want to say it, but I was angry, and I think a lot of people don't realize that. And through going back to your coaching and what we do is work with people to kind of face it in order to erase it, I call it. Face, erase, accept, replace. Acronyms are fear. So, and what Les Brown says is false evidence appearing real, but it's more like we got to face our past, close it, put a closure to it, and move on, right?
Yeah, and one thing one of my favorite things to tell clients is when, you have a situation where, one person is, being whatever way to you. I always say, this sounds like it's totally about them and not about you.
Yeah.
Is this a them problem? And when you kind of look at things through that perspective, like you don't actually have anything to do with how that person's acting or feeling, it kind of frees you up. Like, okay, all I can do is live my life and figure out how I can move forward.
Right. I call it turn the FUs to thank yous, like I said, and I have it on my phone. If I have this here, I put it on the back of the phone because I think it's kind of funny. This is my carrier, my case, but look at you, you have this and it says turn the FUs to thank yous. So you're going like this and you're like, and this is how you hold it, but turn the FUs to thank yous is a quote I came up with where I started saying, like, I was angry at my biological father, I was angry at this person, they wanted me to drink, I was angry. Why am I so angry in here? Like, it shouldn't affect, when people cut me off now, I say thank you. I yelled that in the racquetball court today because I skipped a shot I should have hit, and I go, thank you! And people look at me like, what's going on with that guy? Isn't that weird that you say, oh shit, and you're cussing. Yeah. But then if you say thank you with some anger, it's like, whoa, why is that guy saying thank you? Like, hey, I'm happy I skipped it because I need to learn and grow.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting how you can rewire your mind. It's like, so when my current life coach is actually part of another men's organization. I'll give him a shout out, Man Up Life Coaching out of San Diego.
Okay, Man Up Life Coaching. We'll have a link down here too, I'll put it on there.
Yeah, but basically one of their big things in the beginning of coaching any clients is you need to learn to validate yourself and others. And even if it's not natural, you just run that script over again and again in your mind. And then all of a sudden it just becomes a natural thing to do. And it's amazing. One thing you'll find is as you're validating others, you get that love back. It's amazing what validating people does to open them up and just make you a type of person that people want to be around.
Right. Wonderful. Well, awesome. I appreciate you meeting up, blowing up, I call it.
Yeah, Stefan, this has been
we're going to
amazing.
have contact information down below and probably some future talks too about, because you're just starting all this. That's how I found him, by the way. I use the law of attraction in a good way, and I hear spirit voices. You can say God, universe, higher power. And one day I was just like, I'm trying to find new businesses to market to. So I looked up new business licenses in San Diego, and it comes up with a big PDF of thousands of businesses. And I just typed in search life coach or recovery coach or coach. And you were like maybe 10 coaches that started your business license this year, right?
Amazing.
You have a corporation, right?
LLC.
LLC, so it had to be posted out there, and that's how we find. I called them and I said, what's up? Personal growth, self-development. We just started chatting. Turn the FUs, thank yous, and that's it.
Yeah, I loved it. Yeah, and I was looking through his content, and it's amazing. And it's funny. I haven't read his book yet, but I just opening up to any page of the book, you get a gem. Like any part you open up, like he was saying, you can read a couple of paragraphs a day, and you're going to get something.
It was Audible and Spotify too, because I was writing my book in lockdown in 2020, and I found myself writing, and this goes out to coaching and personal growth, telling myself what I was writing. And I was saying, okay, this is like, I'll just randomly open up a page here. And it says, overcoming the death of a life you wanted to end will bring forth the birth of a life you would have never expected to live, love, and flourish in. So when I was reading that, and I recorded it sometimes, I heard it, and somebody heard it and said, you've got a wonderful voice, you should record it. And then I paid a company to get me on Audible and Spotify. So not to be self-absorbed, but to learn. I had over 16 hours. This is 16
self-validation.
Self-validation. Thank you. Instead of like my ego, self-validation. 16 hour. It's a 16-hour Audible book, but I had probably 25 hours of audio on there, and I was writing it and putting it all together. The spirit of connectivity leads to humbling forgiveness through mindfulness. Own the moment of now, and you've won the moment of life. All three of these letters spell now, own one. Now, own one. And so I was just writing and going, wow, this is amazing. And now I look back on it, and I'm going, I wrote this. And that's going back to goal setting, going back to achieving. It's not about me, it's about we. Turn the M around, that's we. And the spirit within comes out. Going back to that's what I was going to say about Yellow Deli. I said something about my first main quote when I was writing Barstool Knowledge and writing my book was, the spirit within is here to help you grow. And I realized that. When I wrote it down, I said it more. I had goals, and I had paper to read it from. So just reminders, daily reminders, right?
I think that's amazing. And, it's interesting as I'm kind of starting to put content together for, my different, accounts and whatnot. The power of actually writing down your thoughts is so important, because I've realized that I've had these, I might be on a run or at the gym and I have this thought. If I don't put it right down, it's just interesting how it can drift away.
Yeah.
And it's like, or even if I'm in a session with somebody and there's a jewel in there, and if I don't write it down, it's fun. One of my clients the other day said something so profound, and I was like, I'm going to remember that.
And we don't.
And I didn't write it down because I thought I would remember it, and I wrote back to her, and I was like, what did you say? She's like, I don't remember.
I know, and I have an audio a recorder on my phone, and the same thing. So when I'm in the gym, the dopamine, the serotonin, all these ideas come up. Every gym time, at least a minute to 2 minutes, I record, I pause it, record, I pause it. Use this idea, here's a quote. Because then I go back and I'm like, oh, that's lame, that's okay, that'll work, but at least I didn't miss it. Miss the gym, right?
Exactly.
In the gym.
The gym.
Well, thanks again.
Hey,
You're
thanks,
blowing
Stefan.
up. And we'll go now and grow now. Peace.